Yeah, we're welcome everybody here tonight. We announced this is our December meeting. We're trying to get through this quick night. We don't have a lot of topics. We had anticipated having a project presentation that we don't have, but we had scheduled the meeting. We're also taking the first test drive of the wonderful new AV system that the El Dorado Hills Fire Department has installed.
Wow.
Um, and so, yes, it is very nice. And I got to remember we get towards the end of our meeting, I'll remind people, the generosity of the fire department in terms of their community outreach and how they support the community is probably second to none. So as we drive this tonight and try not to wreck it, um, but we just want to be mindful that this is all new tools and this is for us to use. And APAC is not funded by anything right now. As we become a nonprofit next year, we'll probably put the Jesse James to people, see if anybody wants to kick in to support what we're doing. So we're starting. Chair John Davey, Vice Chair Tim White, Vice Chair John Raslier, Vice Chair Brooke Washburn is not with us tonight. Remote is our Secretary Bill Jamaica. Thank you, Bill, for checking in. I know it's hard to be here tonight, but I appreciate you being around virtually. And we'll go ahead and get the meeting going. So typically what we do when we adopt our meeting agenda. So if there are no objections to what we have, it's not much to it tonight. It's a gizmo for making presentations. So and we're not doing that. So okay, the agenda's okay with the officers, okay? Then we'll move ahead. And then we adopt the meeting agenda, which we just did. We don't vote on it, we just do it. And then the opportunity for public comment. And we have this available for people attending the meeting virtually here in the room. If you have any public comments that you'd like to offer that are not items on the agenda, if you have a comment about something on the agenda, and again, there's not much there tonight, we would ask that you wait till we get to that part of the meeting to talk about that item. But if there's anything here in the room, we have microphones floating around. You ready to go?
Means good. Is that?
That's straight up. There you go, Larry.
Is Greg coming tonight?
I believe he's not.
He's not. Okay. Well, then I'll get my my little speech here out of the way.
Okay.
Yeah, I want to I always want to bring up Finders in Saratoga
Yes.
because there was a huge development that was done, 300 houses, and this little road, Finders, Saratoga was put through. Oops.
You're good.
And okay, I'm working. I was put through, the developer did nothing, right, with this little road. And, the traffic isn't staying, it's hard to get out. Folsom put a stop sign in an intersection to help some of the residents get out. County says that can't be done with Finders, not enough traffic, not enough accidents. Well, December 1st, there was
Yes, another
one. Black Prius got creamed, the side. If you go and look, you'll still see all the glass in the road because we apparently don't have a street sweeper.
Okay.
But I saw the car, the police were there, hauling cars away. And I mean, it's just a matter of time till somebody gets hurt. But as we go through all of these projects as a group, consider the people who live next door in the neighborhood and what impacts the projects could have on the people, more long-term residents of the community. That's what I want to say.
Well, thank you. And normally, we're a little more freeform here that we do sort of go back and forth if there's an opportunity for us to discuss. And that intersection, obviously, it's been a problem since, Saratoga was extended. I believe DOT had said they anticipated 8,000 daily trips within the first year. And it was over 8,000 in the first couple months.
Yeah.
And I want to say it was like 14,000 in the first year. But that's still within the plan for the first 5 years.
It is.
So,
okay.
I mean,
we have to wait 5 years.
And as we had a special sole topic meeting with DOT. It was virtual then, about that intersection, pointedly about the concerns from the residents. We had a lot of residents chip in and provide comments so that DOT heard it. And again, as you're describing it, there's not enough side street traffic volume for the intersection that warrants a control.
That's what they say.
That's what they say. We did point out that Folsom has some form of intersection control at every single intersection along Saratoga, but they say they have higher traffic volumes. So,
where do all
yeah.
those cars come from?
Well, from everywhere apparently, but yeah, and there was concerns about the lack of the sidewalk not being extended. a lot of things like that. And I know that, why am I blanking on the road? The road that comes out right by Walgreen, the, thank you. I believe it's going to become a no left turn soon.
How are they gonna do that?
Yeah. So what are your neighbors going to, you got to go to Arrowhead? Is that any better? I don't, yeah. So thank you for bringing that up. We'll keep talking about it. And when we talk to DOT again, we'll bring it up again. I'm pretty sure we probably talked about it when we had our quarterly meetings with planning and with DOT. So,
because the original developer offered to put in two lanes in each direction. And he had all the equipment there. He was doing the work anyway. And I think it was going to be a couple $100,000. And DOT said, well, no, it's not. The traffic studies that they did said that, again, the one lane in each direction had enough capacity for 5 years. And then, of course, now the original developer is gone. It has to go in the CIP plan. It'll be 10 years before they get around to building a second lane in each direction. They could have done it 5 years ago at very little cost. Mm-hmm. And the reason they rejected it is because they said they didn't want to pay the maintenance costs. I mean, it's just crazy sometimes.
So,
I'll second that because I was at the meeting where the developer said, he said, look, we have the land. All I have to do is put down a little more asphalt and I want to do it. The plan was to match the Folsom start.
Mhm.
We know where Folsom was. Saratoga would be the exact twin of that, including the trees and whatever on the borders of it. And we were personally shocked when the county said, no, we don't want to do it. But what I would like to say is that if this comes up again, you have to marshal your people in your neighborhood and to join a group here at APAC and do it,
And, Raphael's been good about engaging with us when we ask about it. We haven't had a formal meeting about it in a while, so it might be time in 2026 to come back and visit again. And they can tell us what they have planned. It's a CIP project for the 4 lanes, but CIP is a 20-year window, horizon. There are things that are on there that will fall off in 5 or 10 years and won't come back because they can't justify it because of the numbers.
Right.
So it's tough. I know the same thing about the JPA for White Rock is that, they had designed it, their contribution was they designed it and had intended to have landscaping in it. And transportation said, hey, we can't swing the maintenance on landscaping, so just make it's all stamped concrete. So when it happens, it'll happen someday, eventually. I know that they're still looking for money to fund that.
I think that's a good question to ask DOT. What money do they have after this lawsuit, after they pay this lawsuit? Or how much money do they actually have to do anything? We were kidding around, and maybe they can fix a pothole. I don't know, So that might be a question to ask DOT now that the county has to pay back this money. What are your priorities, so to speak?
Have. When we asked, DOT has been very good about being here to talk to us. We might not like the answers, but we should probably hear them. So we'll extend that invitation in the coming months. So are there any other questions in the room? You got it, Linda.
Actually wasn't going to say anything, but I was thinking specifically about Saratoga, so I think it was my time. So on the last Board of Supervisors meeting, there was the road to the west that was approved. I had comment on that, no issue, right? So one of the challenges that I had is it was presented without any cost related to it. So to me, it seems like not a completely informed decision. But then I was thinking about it, and it's like there's that one I know specifically was brought up by John Hydall because of Marble Valley, and then also the AKT proposal that's going on down there. What I didn't think about at the time was the fact that that's 2 lanes on Latrobe Road. I only thought about it as I drove down to it to visit a friend, and I'm like, oh yeah, it stops here. But there was nothing about widening Latrobe, which I think would have to happen if that went in. And then I started thinking about it because Saratoga has needs that haven't been met for a really long time. So I think it's important once that comes up in the CIP and there's actually some cost associated with it, that maybe we get a little louder on some of what are the real priorities? You know, there's people here now. I understand the general idea of trying to prepare well in advance, but we've got roads in the CIP that, to your point, have fallen off, come back on. They're paper roads, and that's not what we're supposed to have. So just something to kind of keep an eye on when the CIP updates come out. If it comes out with the costs, that maybe we kind of exert a little bit more vocal about trying to deal with Saratoga or other areas of concern.
Yeah.
So,
As an example, Bass Lake Road, obviously they had 3 CIP projects that came off in 2015
yes.
that were on there
Mhm.
in a 20-year plan, and they're gone. So one of them has come back on, but it's only partial, and it's primarily about, you know, the hotel project, and now maybe considering Marble Valley and Lime Rock, that's part of it too. But
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
transportation's always fun.
I want to welcome Supervisor Ferraro. I saw him hanging around in the Marshall. He was over at Marshall and they had this zero contraption from the ceiling and he was on it. And I was on it too. I liked it.
I think the technology is incredible for physical therapy.
We could use that here. Go in and out and whatever.
Sure house. So are there any other public comments for items on our agenda tonight?
Brad, I just got a note. If you're making a comment, hold the mic closer to you because some people outside are not able to hear you still.
Say be cautious with that because I pushed it back because it was ringing a little. So
Okay. So yeah, if you can hear yourself echoing like I do,
Check.
yeah.
can they hear me? Yes, no.
Yeah, we can hear you.
I know. It's great, right?
All right. So I don't see any public comment hands up on Zoom. Okay, we'll move along. Well, this is great timing that you mentioned Supervisor Furrows here, because this is the time that we get supervisor comments, and Supervisor Furrows is very consistent about being here. We appreciate the support he provides us. So probably do that microphone up there, and it's hot. It's hot.
Red means on.
It does.
Apparently.
That's good to
Yeah.
know. Wow. Just saw a Facebook post about us leaving a mic on the Board of Supervisors meeting. Good evening, everybody, and thank you for allowing me to speak again. And yeah, John and I, we were just at the and Cindy at the grand opening for the Marshall Medical Center clinic that they have in their physical therapy, and they have it's got 0G rehabilitation tool, and it's you put a harness on, and it's attached to a mechanism in the ceiling where people with leg injuries that are rehabbing leg injuries, they can reduce the amount of body weight and prevent them from falling. And it's the only device of its kind west of Salt Lake City. And it was donated by a gentleman who lives in El Dorado Hills, I think to the tune of $350,000.
Wow.
And yeah, so yeah, John and I got to try it out, and I think it's gonna be great for there was a lady there, I think she was in her late 70s, who had polio as a child and has never been able to, walk correctly for her entire life. And she gave a demonstration on her improvements and how it has improved her like nothing else over her lifetime. So pretty cool, and it's right down the street. So
Great.
want to recognize our Director of Planning and Building, Karen Gardner, received an award from the California On Location Award,
which is presented by the Film Liaison of California, and it's for location managers and public employees who facilitate on-location filming. And so she went down and received an award for that in LA for her work with, basically, her work in preventing the elimination of our film commissioner, and to help us maintain that. So congratulations to Karen. You guys brought up the road to the west. Yeah, conceptually, we did approve it. There's no funding, no cost associated with it right now, as Linda pointed out, which is similar to a lot of the roads that we have in our CIP. Country Club for one of them, that's being planned or in the plan that has not a dime of funding associated with it. But I felt it was important to at least keep it on the radar, keep it in the plan, because if El Dorado Hills continues to develop, most of the development is going to be down there, and I think that road will be beneficial, and I hate to eliminate as a conceptual plan at this point. 504 raises, I'm sure you've all familiarized yourself with that. The last meeting we approved 504 raises, but then we also are sending the topic back. If you're not familiar with 504, it's back in 1995 or 96, the voters of El Dorado County approved a pay structure for Sheriff's Department. So from deputies all the way up through the undersheriff to basically receive the average pay of Amador Sheriff, South Lake Tahoe Police, and California Arbitral. And so every year, if it's plus or minus, that's what they get, and it's automatic. Well, over the years, prior boards have connected or associated other non-represented employees, specifically department heads, a handful of department heads, and then there's a group of district attorneys, like investigators, people like that are law enforcement capabilities. So if you've been paying attention, there's been a ton of criticism regarding the automatic 504 raises for department heads, and I think for good reason. So we approved the raises, but we want to send it back to staff to kind of relook at how we provide raises to the CAO, county council, DA, the sheriff. And it's going to be a challenging task, I think, because I truly believe in compaction, and I truly believe that the department head base salary, they should be making the most out of their department. But if the staff continues to get raises, it's hard to knock that down. But I think we can come up with something that will improve how we determine salaries for our non-represented employees. You might have heard we approved, I think it was in consent at the last meeting, to explore possibly selling the senior center to the CSD. And I've been saying since we cut the funding for the senior daycare program last spring that we have no intentions on selling the senior center, but CSD reached out to us and to look at negotiations for that building. So it's not like the county's trying to get rid of it. It would, if the CSD did buy it, it would, we'd have to have some type of deed restriction where it remained a senior center for our community. Oh, let's see. Starting January, we're going to adjust our Board of Supervisors meeting agendas, and specifically for public comment. And we're gonna try something. There's been a lot of criticism over comments for department matters and for closed session items that they don't know when it's going to come up to their board. So people that want to provide comment don't know. You essentially have to wait on the Zoom call all day long, or wait in the meeting all day long to provide a comment that may come in the morning, it may come late in the afternoon. So starting with our next meeting in January, we're going to combine the public comment for the consent calendar as well as the closed session items. And then right after that, we're going to provide an opportunity for public comment for all non-hearing items. So you get one opportunity in the morning to provide comment on the items that are not actual hearings. If it's a hearing, it'll be, as it always has, public comment at the beginning of the hearing. So we'll see how that works. I think the biggest criticism will probably be regarding the non-hearing items. You're only going to get 3 minutes. So to talk about, there could be 3, 4. There's typically not a lot of non-hearing items on our calendar. So, but we're gonna try that starting in January. We just approved a ballot issue that's going to be on the ballot in June of 26 to continue a special tax for the Georgetown and South Lake Tahoe libraries. That special tax that they've been paying, it's expiring, and so we approved a measure to get that on the June ballot. Were you talking about the Austin case when I got here? Okay. Yeah, I missed that meeting. I was at CSAC that week, but they approved. Well, did you already talk about it? I don't want to. You didn't. Okay. So, as you know, we lost lawsuits in the tune of about $14 million for the county fire department. CSD are also paying, but we're looking at ways to how do we pay these people back that paid the TIF fees, a number of years ago. How do we track them down? Well, the California law clearly states that in a situation like this, the refund has to be made to the owner of the property, which would be in August 2025. So whoever was on the assessment roll in August of 2025 is entitled to that money. So not necessarily the person who paid the money. So now they're coming up with a way to, notify people and, make sure that everybody knows that they're entitled to, a refund. On the counties, as I've learned about this, it's a sting to the county, boy, because the money's been spent on road improvements. There was, the problem was it wasn't spent timely enough as defined by the law, but it was spent. And so that 14 million, it's coming out of our road fund, and it's gonna hurt projects down the road, I think. So we're kind of paying twice for road improvements, unfortunately. Got the opportunity to ride with the fire department Santa Run last week. Man, what been on the receiving side of it for almost 20 years now, but to ride up to different neighborhoods and see the kids smiling, and it was incredible. And yeah, hats off to the fire department. You read some criticisms like, oh, what waste of resources and stuff like that. But I tell you what, we are so lucky to have a contribution like that from our fire department. And I've said it before, it's the only public safety agency in El Dorado Hills that's dedicated to El Dorado Hills. CHP is not, Sheriff's Department's not. They cover the whole county. CHP, the whole county and the state. So our fire department is our, local public safety agency, and hats off to them. Thanks for doing it. And then last thing, tomorrow night at 6:30, they're gonna Jewish community's gonna have a menorah lighting at the town center, right underneath the theaters. So, anyways, just want to. Well, first, I guess if there's any questions, comments. Yes, sir.
Supervisor Greg, I always listen to you, but, and tonight I did, but would you mind clarifying what's happening to the senior center? I missed that part that you were talking about.
Okay. So remember last May, we cut our budget, and one of the programs that we cut was the senior daycare center at this facility.
Right.
Right now, the senior center, the county has had 2 programs. They had a senior nutrition program where they provide food, and a senior daycare program. The senior daycare, and then the rest of it, the CSD has a bunch of different program activities there. They occupy most of the space. So we consolidated our senior daycare program to Placerville, which I understand enrollment's never been higher, which is a good thing. And then So I'll point out that there's another private senior center that just opened up down the street also. But regarding the senior center here, there was rumors back in the spring that, well, we want to get rid of the building, and I didn't think we did. And we may or may not want to, but the CSD reached out to us, and they want to enter negotiations to possibly buy it. And but it has to remain a senior center. You know, we have to provide that to our seniors, especially for the CSD activities. Does that answer your question? So we just conceptually approved the concept for our staff to be able to, you know, get an appraisal on the building and enter talks with the CSD.
It does, Supervisor Ferrero, and I just want to compliment you on answering questions. That's all.
You're welcome.
Can I jump in? I have a question about the senior center here. It's called the Gilmore Center because it was set up with funds by the Gilmore Trust. What happens to that money? That money was given to the CSD, it was given to the county, and what happens to that money?
So the county purchased that building from El Dorado Hills Fire Department, I think for $700,000 or $800,000.
Almost for free.
700,000 or 800,000, if I'm remembering right. And then there's a trust, as you mentioned, from Monique Gilmore. She donated $1 million. And the county's holding it. And it is for, I have the trust on my desk, it's for either maintenance or construction of a new senior center in El Dorado Hills. So the money has to stay here. So I'm sure as we move down the road, if whether we spend the money on repairs for the current building or the money has to be spent on a senior center in El Dorado Hills. And I'm sure that's going to come into the negotiations with CSD if we get that far.
No, because I do know that a good portion of that money was to set up the senior daycare. Okay, and I know because the folks at Four Seasons worked very, very hard to make sure that money was freed up. It was locked in litigation for like 10 years, and then they finally freed that money up because of the people at the Four Seasons, and it was supposed to be for the senior daycare center.
So I don't think that's correct. And like I said, I'd have to read the trust again because it's not for programs. It's for actual building.
What they did was they took a portion of the senior center, they brought it up to code so that they could open up a senior daycare, okay? And then the county could go in and use that particular portion of the building because it was now brought up to code, okay?
Any of that money though. That money is still sitting in an account. And it's over $1 million.
Well,
Yeah, I think in the purchase, the CSD purchase,
Yeah.
they donated, Parker donated.
it's now on this side. It was on the 11 acres
Side?
over here.
Yeah.
Back here,
Yeah, but now it's over here.
Yeah. But I mean, you're not gonna be able to build a new place for $1 million. But yeah, I don't think we spent a dime of that money, John.
Well, maybe they should have, we could have kept it open. Instead of sending people up to Placerville. And it's not really doesn't give a respite to the people who are taking care of these people. You know, that's the whole purpose of the
Yeah, but
building.
the trust, I'm gonna reiterate, it's not for programs, it's for the actual building. Maintenance or development of a new one.
I do know it was brought up to code. The building was brought up to code.
I mean, and there's repairs that need to be done in that building now. The money, could possibly be spent on that or some of it. So,
I know they were talking about building on the other side over here.
Yeah, now it would be behind us over here.
I'm glad that you and your colleagues finally decided to look at the 504 issue. I was on the charter revision committee a few years ago, and that was brought up early on. And the board at that time said, don't touch it, don't even look at it. You guys didn't want to deal with the political heat if it might have generated. So a lot of us wanted to address it, but we followed our instructions and the mandate that we were given by the board. So I'm glad you guys are having a chance to at least look at it at this time.
Deserves looking at. I mean, it is going to be a challenge, but I don't think that, I just don't like the way it's formatted personally. And I think I think most of us agree on that on the board.
Lockstep issue, quite frankly. It's,
Like I said, I believe that department heads, base salary wise, regardless of, seniority pay and different trainings and things like that, base pay, department head, I think should be making more than, anyone else in the department, regardless of the department. Pick a department, sheriff, planning and building, doesn't matter. But especially now, we're in budget crunches, and just to have, automatic pay raises, doesn't look real good. So, and you're hearing a lot of things about the unions. Be careful what you pay attention to. Just leave it at that, because we're dealing with that in closed session.
Hey, Greg, could you have any more information about the crash and finders at Saratoga around December 1st? We tried to go online with the county sheriff, but they had no public information, they said.
You asked me about that, huh? And I was going to get back to you.
Yeah,
And
well,
I
this is a
didn't.
new crash since the last time we talked.
Okay. Well, sheriff won't have any info on it. It'll be CHP.
Go to CHP, okay. We're just trying to see if that was a fatality, because the car we saw was pretty mangled. It was around December 1st.
December? Oh, just recently.
Yeah.
Okay. They keep me in the loop on the fatals.
Okay.
So I'm not going to say it wasn't, but I think I would probably know if it was.
You know where it is, because there's still glass there.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
Okay.
yeah, Saratoga's an issue.
Yeah, we talked about it.
we know that.
We won't bring it up again.
So if there are no other questions, thank you for coming and sharing that.
Yeah, and everybody have a safe, happy Hanukkah, Christmas, New Year's, and see you next month.
Thank you. Okay, moving along. So, after our supervisor comments, we're going to get into our projects, but we like to take an opportunity to remind everybody that, the way you become a voting member of APAC is you volunteer to work on a project review or a subcommittee. We have ways that we've adopted over the many years, and we've taught each other. And again, if you want to chip in, if there's something you want to work on, even if it's a small slice of a project like transportation, or you're concerned about air quality on a specific project, we would love to have that help. And it's entirely conceivable that you'll have a better process than we do now. So we're always ready to use what works best for the community. So with that, we'll move along. Yes,
Out of something.
awesome.
When you were talking about different groups, so we don't have anybody like a committee water, but EID modifying projects, so and divert the water. No, it's like way up the hill, but it's kind of specifically because of El Dorado Hills. So
Yes,
I'm wondering if we should consider trying to see if people with water experience and knowledge would want to
That'd be great.
participate in that.
so that's an opportunity for us to, with our social media, to go out and check too, because obviously we don't have everybody in Eldorado Hills here tonight.
Right?
But we had our environmental standing committee. It was started, and we haven't had the project scope that would support that group continuing all the time. I'm hoping that they would like to still be involved as we review projects. And you've been doing a great job with the transportation standing committee as well. And Bill Jamaica has been very focused on that as well. So there's opportunities for us to do those things.
They already did their draft EIR.
Yeah.
So the next step is going to be the final EIR. So
Yeah,
I
it's
don't
going to
know
be,
when.
yeah. So it'll be in the final ER, we get just like a week to 2 weeks notice, and that's it. We got to have comments in. So, we'll share that on our website and on social media and see if we can solicit some more assistance. Because most of these projects that we're looking at right now are larger projects, and they're thousands of pages and they're supporting documents. And then when you come time for a planning commission hearing, there's hundreds of pages more. And by the time we get to the Board of Supervisors, there's typically more than two. The draft EIRs, we typically get, the 30 to 60 days to make comments, but those are only related to the environmental aspects of a project. It's not, we always try to remind everybody, you can't just, a comment on a draft EIR is not, I don't like your project. Well, okay, that's fine if you don't like it, and there might be some good reasons why you don't, and we'd love to hear about them. But when that process is, we have to do the environmental input before we get to the approval and the entitlement process. So, and then that is a very compacted period. So we always appreciate the fact that when we have applicants come and they want to talk to us about the project, and they will say, hey, here's what we're thinking, and then they solicit feedback from that. Maybe they modify the project a little bit. So anybody who's watching tonight, listening here in the room, if you have time and you want to, even like I said, just a small part of something to weigh in on or ask questions, your questions might help us produce a better project for the community. So we addressed the matter about the if that's how you become a voting member of APAC, and that plays into our agenda later tonight. We have no guest speakers tonight, so the first thing we have is, and I should probably share this, it's just a quick update on projects, and we try to do this every month. If we don't have news, we leave this as sort of a placeholder, because if something develops between the time we release our agenda and the time that our meeting happens, then we could squeeze it in here. Boy, that's I'm getting a sunburn. Avert your eyes. Well, let's get out of this fast. So the projects we're talking and this is sort of our same list. We've had the benefit of having the applicants from Marble Valley Specific Plan and Lime Rock Village Specific Plan. Lime Rock Valley. Boy, who typed village? Some jerk. But they've been at our last two meetings and primarily talking about transportation and the interchange at Bass Lake Road and US 50, and how their project is perceived to be providing some impact and what the opportunities are for an interim improvement on that project at the interchange, and then a long-term solution for rebuilding the interchange. They're talking about 4,000 units of housing. The interchange right now has capacity of 400 more units. So, but then the lead time on these things, because it's Caltrans, it's years, even for the interim improvements. So we really got to be in front of it if we want improvements before the impacts arrive. And then we got to stay on top of it and make sure that the improvements continue. We get the full thing in place before, it's, bad. So we have those. They have their final EIR is pending. When we hear about it, we'll probably know it'll be at a planning commission hearing, and we'll get the documents 2 weeks, maybe in advance. And that's our opportunity to provide the comments on that. And because it's at the planning commission, it's not strictly focused on just the environmental impact report. So we can provide other comments and provide other feedback. And so we, that's an opportunity for both those. We know that the town and country village, El Dorado, that it was a three, well, I have the numbers, we'll look at it real quick. But basically it was approved to, the planning commission recommended passing on to the supervisors with the recommendation of approving the project. It got to the board of supervisors and they had a lot of concerns, and I think I have a small list we can talk about real quick after this. So it's going back to the planning commission for additional review and analysis. Creekside Village Specific Plan, we had provided our subcommittee comments to the planning commission, and they recommended to advance they voted to advance a recommendation of denial on that project, and we have a few short notes about that. There's likely a public hearing at the Board of Supervisors to consider the project, even with that recommendation from the Planning Commission, and that is likely to be towards the end of January. So as we learn more, we'll post that on our website as well. Costco, it's like a small gift this year at Christmas that we didn't have the draft EIR come out in December. So, however, there is a new year coming. So it is highly likely we'll be seeing that soon. And, they were kind of come make a presentation, and they updated some of the items they had been looking at, and, you know, the same things we talked about before, the fuel station's a concern for the community there and also specifically for the school and what the impacts may be. We'll hear more when that draft EIR comes out. Generations at Green Valley, we worked real hard to get that commented on the draft EIR from our subcommittee, but we've heard nothing since then, and it's been like a year. So please stand by. And then the Gateway El Dorado specific plan project. We had talked with the applicant a couple times. He came in a presentation. You know, there are things they're entitled to do there right now. And they just, you know, they did a parcel split this year. So they have the 2 new warehouse buildings up there. They're talking about incorporating, you know, multifamily workforce type apartment housing alongside some more warehouse and facilities like that. So, but again, we're waiting for a draft EIR on that, and I'm sure that they'd be willing to come back and talk to us when that comes out because he made that commitment to us when he was here. So with that, let's see where else. So that's where we're at on those. There's no new information this month, but we like to have that placeholder at the beginning in case something comes up and we can talk about it in detail, but we don't include in the agenda. So the next item tonight is we were going to talk briefly about some of the planning commission hearings. And primarily for us, it's the 2 that have happened that we just talked about. The Town and Country Village. So the Planning Commission had, it was a little split in terms of how they considered the project. And they did advance it to the Board of Supervisors, the recommendation for approval. So it was split 3-2 on a couple items, primarily the general plan amendment and the revision to the Bass Lake Hill specific plan and the public facilities financing plan, the existing specific plan in place. And then the other 3-2 was regarding the rezone, because there's a rezone that they're seeking some entitlements, and it's on a project, part of the project that's the program study area where there's some conceptual things in there that they were told they had to consider, but there's nothing concrete. And that applicant's been nothing but generous with us for, I think since 2018. They've been here half dozen times. Oh yeah, it's probably, yeah, yes. So, but that did go forward to the Board of Supervisors, and the board did consider it, and they had some of the concerns that we had in our findings. We provided a finding of conditional support. We are concerned about the program study area, but we wanted to codify sort of what they had talked to us about when they were at one of our meetings, that, you know, that septic would be something that they would maybe not consider. And just that if the projects that were later considered and entertained for the program study area, not the hotels and the cottages, that they would actually be review and not rubber stamp, that there'd be a process to review those as they move forward. So I went to the Board of Supervisors, and they had concerns about a lot of the things that we had and about what many of the neighbors had concerns about. So they've turned that around, and they have a sort of a list of things including the project infrastructure with the water and the sewer systems that be completed prior to the issuance of building permits, which was, I think, one of our conditions that we supported. They revised some of the conditions of approval to align with the intent requirements of some other specific conditions of approvals. And the building height, it's a little bit higher than what the county allows. So they were looking for an exemption for that. So they're sending it back to the Planning Commission. And they're looking also at the program area, the study area. The density should not be greater than the existing density that is currently permitted on the site, which is pretty low density. So back to the Planning Commission for that. So, you know, we had mentioned it briefly when we had our last 2 meetings, but we did want to say, you know, we'll put this, it'll be on our website, people will see it, but also we always share the meeting minutes from the Board of Supervisors and the Planning Commission, so you can go and review if you need to. So that was what's happened with Town and Country. And then the Creek Village specific plan went to the Planning Commission, and it was on the day that we had our last meeting. So we really couldn't get into it because they were closing the meeting as we were driving here. So it was a nights long meeting. So the Planning Commission had recommended that the Board of Supervisors deny the entitlements in favor of a more comprehensive plan, better aligned with the existing general plan and the zoning. And the zoning is the business park, is R&D zoning, and that has a lot of allowed uses. The use matrix there is pretty wide, but not really the the housing element that was being proposed. So we had again provided a finding of conditional support through our subcommittee. And again, these applicants, they're here in the room tonight. It's good to see them. They're always here, even when it's not about their project. But we've talked to them, I want to say since 2018, 2017. So we thought we had a pretty good feel for this in terms of what was being proposed and what was being presented and what we considered, these might be some items that could make it better. So we submitted that, but the Planning Commission had made that recommendation to deny the entitlements. So the project will likely be back in January for a board hearing, and they'll consider it then. We'll provide our same comments that we had provided to the Planning Commission, so the board is aware of what we had recommended. So that's primarily it on that. It's just that those were big projects here. Oh, George, I'm sorry, did you?
Just address one item for clarity on your, I'm George Carpenter with Wind Communities. For clarity, the board hearing is scheduled and it's January 27th at 1 p.m.
So the end of January.
Yep.
Okay. And not subject to change that we know of, unless something comes up. So obviously, we'll be providing our comments back to the Board of Supervisors so they know that our volunteers, what we looked at, what we considered, and that we had recommended conditional support. So are there any questions on those two?
I have a question to the fire department. I think the height of all buildings, they can't go more than 50 feet. Am I correct? 50 foot? 50, right?
Fire department says that, it's the county.
So do you have the capability to fight a fire above 50 feet? Do you have the trucks for that? Oh, okay, just something I want.
And that's a truck that we just, we had an official push-in ceremony last week. That's sort of a fire department tradition. The truck came about 2 months ago, but our firefighters worked to outfit it, to put all the equipment on it, to train all our firefighters, the engineers who drive it, everyone else, so they have mental memory. They know if this is the situation they're facing, this is the compartment they open up to grab the right tools. So we pushed it in. As Chief Hall said, we can go up to over 100 feet. So, and when that ladder is extended and you see them training, you see the water going out.
High they could go.
If there's no question, oh, please.
So when it goes to the Board of Supervisors, everything basically gets published on Wednesday night or Thursday,
Yes.
which gives us 4 or 5 days.
Business day, yeah.
There, right?
Yeah.
Over the weekend. So it would be awesome, actually, if some of that documentation, because there are changes that happen between the Planning Commission and going to the supervisors. There's new documents that are included, usually from staff. So it'd be super helpful, actually, if the web page itself was updated with the documents rather than just waiting to publish them on Legistar. Just a thought for projects like this, because then we have time to be able to dig through them and determine
I know
what may have changed.
we have made that request in the past, but I'm not against doing that again if somebody wants to start writing.
And I would.
I've been writing a lot, so okay. So if there's nothing else on this, we can move forward. Supervisor Ferrero spoke about this. This is just, we threw this in because sort of aligned with where Creekside's at, but Linda observed that Supervisor Heidel and Planning Commissioner Vania had been working for a long time to try to see what's possible with essentially a beltway, a loop road that would move traffic from White Rock further south on Latrobe, so that people who are at that end of the county don't have to drive down White Rock, which is pretty impacted right now. And there are CIP projects for White Rock Road, but this would potentially provide a little bit of relief, a little more ability for any project that's developed down there for our fire services, emergency responders, and just more connectivity. So that's, as we had talked about, there's no money associated with this. This is an idea, it's a concept. And so, yeah, it would have been nice to see maybe some ballpark figures so that when they voted to include it in the CIP, which is a 20-year document, that, but now that analysis is starting and, there's tons of issues. There's, right away, I believe there's some wetlands at the other end. So there's a lot of things to work on. It's like the Country Club Drive extension, which has been on the books since the early 2000s. We've talked about that because part of that road is proposed to go through the CSD property for the old golf course. And I believe it's codified in the general plan that road as a parallel capacity road for the highway has to be in there. And the timing on that was weird because that went in the general plan in 2006 and the golf course didn't close till 2007. So the CSD owns that property. They spent a lot of money for it because they thought it was worth it, and a lot of the community supported that. So a road going through that is going to disadvantage the CSD unless they need a road. Then I'm sure they'd be happy for somebody to provide it. But the truth is that road won't happen without development. And between the three CIP projects for Country Club, the extension, it's like $65 million today. In 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, it's probably more like 80 to 100 million. So if that money doesn't exist, it's not going to happen. The alignment's a little strange. I think we looked at it with the Central Elder Hills Specific Plan project because the original terminus for that road was going to come through the Rayleigh's parking lot and onto Park Drive at the traffic signal between the buildings at La Brigada and Rayleigh's, which we could not figure out for the life of us. And then we made those comments, and then the concept was that the road would move so it would come out onto Serrano Parkway. Again, not a great solutions at the bottom of a hill on a curve. Technically a 2-lane road at that way, divided. So as Supervisor Ferrero spoke to this, it's like, this is an idea right now. It's not fully formed. They're going to have to do a lot of analysis. So, but this one seems to be a road that could provide some relief or additional capacity and perhaps just better circulation if someone flying around above us. So just wanted to share that tonight because it was approved at the December 9th meeting. So I know this is what everyone's here for tonight. So we do this every year. We moved it. It used to be in November, but then it was tough because then we had a bunch of lame ducks sitting around. So we would love to have more people be willing to serve as officers at APAC. I know Tim was chair for several years and was elected to the fire board. And so then did I volunteer? I don't think I volunteered. I think I was asked.
You were pushed.
Yeah.
You
So,
were
but I think I've been chair since 2019. I think an organization is great when there's opportunities for more people to have more input and to provide more their vision to it. So, we can find more people to do it. Then essentially the way we work is that we all do sort of the same job. They're just really labels. It's just the people are willing to volunteer and to help do these reviews. So we did our election electronically again this year. The same unfortunate people are on our officer roll again this year. So Bill Jamaica, who became our secretary last year, and Bill does a lot of work. He does a lot of work all the time, and I appreciate what Bill's been doing for us, keep getting us organized and optimizing the organization. As secretary, Brooke again reelected as vice chair, Mr. Resler as vice chair, Tim as vice chair, and me up here doing too much talking. So it's not a big mystery, but we do have in our charter that we have this election every year. Next year, when we become a nonprofit, it'll be part of our formation documents. We have to have this election, and so we've been doing it. So we think we're in good shape for that. But next year, it would be great if we had more people who would be willing to take on some roles. And I'm willing to be sitting someplace else and still participate. But we appreciate the people who come into the meetings and provide some volunteer effort when they can. We understand not everybody can do it all the time. It is kind of a full-time job. Sometimes when you have a lot of projects, when there's nothing going on, it's a lot easier. So congratulations, Bill, congratulations, Brooke. And do you have anything you want to throw in?
John is a little bit too modest. When he says we all do the same job, that is not true by any way, shape, manner, or form. John, he prepares the agendas, he circulates them, we get a chance to say anything else. But he keeps our website running. He manages these meetings. As he says, he drives at the same time as he's speaking and he's looking at his stuff.
Paul's doing the driving tonight.
Thank you, Chief.
Yes.
As a former engineer, I know how much we appreciate that. But, right now, John has been the heart and soul of this organization, and it's really to his efforts that we keep doing it. I mean, if something happened, we would all step in and do our best, but we could not do the job that John is doing. So, John, thank you for once again. If this becomes your final year, we know that you'll still be on as vice chair for the
Dog catcher. That's no, but no, I mean, when we talk about that, Bill and I have been working a lot, and Bill is very engaged in this process and how this organizations can operate and how we can entice more people to be involved. And small bits help. So we would anybody's interested in contributing, we're open to hearing anything. Our email addresses are on the top of the agenda, and our email address on our website, info@edhapac.org, is there as well. There's a comment form on the website. So anybody who has any wonderful ideas or suggestions for how we can improve things, we're open to anything the community wants to contribute. So, and I think with that, we can talk real quick about what our meeting schedule is. It's 2025. This is a slide from last year. 26. So ignore that. I'll fix it before we post it. So the fire department has been fabulous in terms of, COVID hit. We had been meeting at the CSD. That building wasn't available. We did Zoom for a couple of years, I think, which made it tough. But the fire department has had a commitment to the community in terms of making this room available. We pay nothing for this. These tools are great. These are improved tools now, and it's to serve the community and the board. But we're getting to drive with it tonight, and I don't think we can thank people enough at the department, from staff to the board. But we used to have to schedule meetings monthly. Can we get the room? This is when we're going to meet. Can we have it next month? They have asked us, just give us your list for the year, and so we've been doing that for the last few years. There are always a couple where we're problematic. We know the Santa run's a challenge. You're a Santa ambassador, are you not? Yeah, it's moved. Yes, I'll send it to you. So, so our December meeting is moved back like this one. It'll be the third week. Our meeting in May is the third week. There's something else scheduled that week here in the building, but we're consistently the second Wednesday every month. We're sticking to 6:30 p.m. We talked about earlier, but when people are getting home, it's kind of hard to rush over here at 6. So 6:30 is a compromise. It's been working for the last couple of years, but this will be posted. We'll have it on the website. It'll be on our calendar when I get to it. But yeah, no great surprises here. We know that the 1 week in May, that will be the third week, and then in December will also be it's the 16th. This is last year's slide? It should be all 26. Anyways, I'll get the right one on here. Oh. Yeah, I want to say December was, yeah. So, yeah. Okay. So that was weird. I had it in a spreadsheet, but but no. So, and again, I'll move ahead. I was just talking about the fire department. We want to thank, we always want to thank the board, Chief Lilienthal, Chief Hall, Fire Marshal Fields, that's a group who's always here to support us when we have questions or contributing to our conversations and our discussions. So thank you, Chief. We had, when this room was being renovated, we had 2 meetings down at the training center. Chief Hall was just making it happen for us. So thank you. And we don't say it enough. We need to say it, and people need to hear it. So with that, if you have public meetings comments for for one of our meetings and you're not available to be here, you can submit them in writing to us. It's a Gmail account, but it just forwards to us. edhapac.comment@gmail.com. If we get the comment by 5 on a Monday, we can ask anybody who's providing a project presentation or discussion to have it be ready with an answer on Wednesday. So feel free to do that if you have questions and can't be present. Our next meeting is January 14th. Yes, that's 2025 too. When do we pay taxes? Oh, wait, no, yeah, I know that one. So if there's nothing else,
Yeah, just real quick. Two things. One, I want to, shout out to the community of El Dorado Hills, because on the fire department Santa run, it's all volunteer, all that hours you see, those people driving, they're off-duty firefighters volunteering on their days off to come in and drive those things and do everything. Their families support them, because we will have, before each Santa run starts, we'll get people here starting around 4:00. We provide some sandwiches or something like that, but they're coming in and they're getting into their Santa stuff and their elf costumes, whatever it is. They're driving everything else. It's not only current firefighters, it's retired firefighters and their families that come in and support that stuff. But I also want to do a shout out to the community of El Dorado Hills. Over 7,000 toys were collected, and they were delivered this Saturday to the Shriners Hospital. And it's not just that the kids at the hospital get this for the holidays, Hanukkah or Christmas. Every kid who goes to Shriners Hospital, when they're there, they get at least one toy. So these toys have to last the entire year. It's not only the fire department in El Dorado Hills, but it's other groups that do the same thing. Also, food insecurity is a big issue for a lot of people. We collected more food items, donated food items, and get that to the El Dorado Hills Food Bank. Again, it's the very generous community that we live in. So I want to do a shout out and thank everyone who did contribute. And, John and Bill, I know you guys were very active with the Four Seasons one. When I saw what you guys had collected, we had to rent a second box truck this year to deliver everything. District Church is very generous. They often let us borrow their, box truck to collect stuff. We had to rent a second one to get all the stuff to the two areas where the donations were going. And finally, I know you were busy tonight. You came out, fire department, 6 o'clock tomorrow night. There's, we have our usual agenda items, and if you want to get a deep dive into our audited financial report, you're more than welcome to do so. But I think you would be interested in a presentation that Marshall Hospital is going to make. Marshall is advocating to have a special tax put on one of the upcoming ballots next year. This tax would raise half-cent tax, I believe it is, sales tax. This money would go to two things. It would allow Marshall to do some very needed earthquake repairs in the hospital in Placerville. California legislature signed off years ago saying that all hospitals had to meet earthquake standards. They have continuously extended the time. They should have been done 10 years ago. Now it's 2030. Basically, a lot of the smaller hospitals, rural hospitals, just do not have the money. So this tax would raise money, and then Marshall would be able to get with the anticipated tax revenues, Marshall would be able to get bond funding so they could start on the repairs pretty quickly. The other thing is that tax is also going to benefit all the fire departments in El Dorado County because there's going to be money set aside in that bond to do a lot of fire prevention, land clearing and stuff like that. 60-70% of El Dorado County is in a high risk or very high risk fire district. Look at the state, look at the maps, and you will see most of El Dorado County is red. So if additional money is available, so additional clearing can be done and stuff like that, it's going to be interesting to see how that would work. So if you want to find out about it, Marshall's going to be doing a presentation tomorrow night, 6 o'clock here. Thank you, guys.
I will chase the Santa run because, and Ms. Resier will let us know. And Tim described the volunteer effort it takes. We start organizing for this in like October. I mean, the volunteers that are out, the Santa ambassadors, the stops, the department works on it all year long. We're going to have a meeting probably next month to follow up and, say, hey, what went well, what didn't go, what can we do next year? Again, you described it in much more detail. It is a lot of work. I think I still have a donation table and 2 chairs in the back of my truck when I drove over here, I forgot about. But to see people come out at 5:30 on a night when people are just getting it home, and we had the first Santa stop in the Bass Lake area for all neighborhoods, and people come out at 5:30, there's a couple hundred people. It's an impressive thing. The department's been doing this for 60 years. So.
I want to ask the chief, the things that Tim is talking about, how people are getting ready, they're dressing, they're eating, they're getting ready to do this. I would like to have a video of that because I would show that at Four Seasons in preparation of when we have the Santa toy run. I have a very, very old video now, but I would love to see something like that I could show to the community while they're getting ready for Santa.
But let me see if there was a video. We did have a video Dick, who we've used in the past. Let me see what he was able to put together and see if we're going to have any videos for that.
Put it on the stick for me. I would love to have it. Okay, thank you.
And so there's nothing else to go back on. My battery has died on this laptop. I guess we are adjourned. Thank you everybody for coming out. Yes.
First of all, to recognize Tim White for making the comments that you did about the donations through at Four Seasons. As the Rasslier and the Knox family know very well, because we've been residents of Four Seasons for nearly 20 years. And so to be a part of that community contribution that we are so vividly involved in is a joy. It's beyond a joy. So I just wanted to thank you for making that comment in recognition to the fire department and for everybody here. The other thing I wanted to say, and just very quickly, is that since I've been a member of APAC, I have really enjoyed learning more about the community and learning to contribute more to the community. And I enjoy that very much that I'm here. I know that there's a lot more to learn, and believe me, trust me, guys, I look forward to doing that in whatever capacity it is. Maybe it's a member on the board. Who knows? I may want to ask you, Mr. White, to leave so I can be on there. No, I'm just kidding.
You would let him go quickly.
No, I'm just kidding. I just want to share how much I've enjoyed the contribution and the learning and how much I look forward to doing more of the same. Thank you all.
Thank you, Bill.
All right. So with that, pat ourselves on the back and we are adjourned. Thank you everybody for coming out. Be safe for the holiday season and have a happy new year.
Good
Yeah.
Hanukkah.
Yeah.